I love you down for real, for real. And I be ignoring every time you try to speak up against me or about my kid. The last time you spoke up against me was like, yeah, show us something. Show him holding a bottle up or something. And then shortly after, your son gets stabbed the fuck up. It doesn't feel good, does it?
I'm pretty sure because you're a felon, you can't get things in your name, okay? All right, I know that you're a convicted felon. You probably can't get stuff in your name, but I help you, all right? I want you to get your own place with you and your baby. You chill out.
Just now, Tia Kemp went off. Furthermore, she isn't holding back this time. Claiming to be an unfit mother, she shamelessly phoned CPS on Chrisean Rock. This isn't merely a slight, it is a full-fledged storm after a period of silence. Tia is suddenly voicing her opinions clearly. Additionally, it appears that Chrisean may finally be in trouble, to tell the truth. Chrisean has been acting crazy recently. However, the final straw came when she disregarded Auntie Tia and dared to talk about her own son being stabbed. People are still shocked that she went there at all. Here's the problem, though. One of these people who chase online influence is not Tia Kemp. She is feared by many, revered in the streets, and renowned for being honest. Chrisean Rock now tampered with the incorrect one.
I don't know if that boy wanted you to sit down and be a stay-at-home mom for a minute and, so you can start progressing or what. But they say you making a good bag over there on Snapchat, or whatever it is. You should be able to chill out and just focus. Because we don't want you to go back to jail.
Despite the frequent accusations from Chrisean Rock that she is insane and uncontrollable, let's face it, serving in the trenches, Tia Kemp is a true hood legend. She throws pebbles and doesn't protect her hands. Tia usually brings receipts to conversations. And this time she brought up CPS. That isn't drama. That has a real effect. The case has now officially engaged Child Protective Services. Superior Chrisean, quickly get your act together and quit evading accountability. The emphasis is no longer on her songs and viral moments. It is directly affecting her parenting. You have to grow up. Not another excuse, not another riot. The game changed recently. In addition, Auntie Tia fulfilled her word, as they say. A hard head makes a soft ass. She stood with pride, expressed her opinions, and didn't waver. Actually, the question now is, when will Chrisean wake up? She no longer entertains with her prior stunts, crazy behavior, social media sobbing, and sorrow parties. No one is being duped right now. She's getting sucked into everything. She has garnered a lot of attention, interviews, viral videos, and headlines. But she still hasn't built a stable life, no foundation, no permanent home, just chaos. It speaks volumes. Remember when she cried uncontrollably on the internet, asserting that she and their child, Junior, were evicted by Blueface as soon as he was released from prison? She asserted that they were effectively homeless. That surprised a lot of people, and they wanted to know, was that really how cold Blueface was? Or is something else happening in the background, regardless of how toxic that relationship grew? Blueface publicly claimed Junior as his own. If he genuinely believed it to be his son, then why would he throw Chrisean out like trash? The total wasn't sufficient, and now it doesn't. At the moment, it didn't feel like a split. What it felt like was a total shutdown. Chrisean has now had to face reality. No amount of pity can undo what stability should have avoided. Rather than reflecting, she deflected by making derogatory comments about Tia's son being stabbed. She went live and tried to allay Tia's concerns about her child's health, as if that somehow justified her own negligence. But this is the issue. No danger was put to her son by Tia. It was another individual. But the internet doesn't accept that Chrisean is the one putting her child's health at risk. Then gave a backward clap. His upload of a video showing the inside of their house was disastrous. Clothes are everywhere, food is on the ground, and dirty dishes are stacked to the roof. Total chaos. He did not have to say a word. It was obvious what a disaster it was. Additionally, he was defended by the claim that Chrisean doesn't clean up after herself. It shocked the internet. It took only a few days for no one to predict such a disaster. How did Chrisean respond? She dared to assert that it wasn't solely her mess. She refused to take responsibility and instead tried to drag others down with her. This time, though, people aren't buying it. Her haphazard behavior is no longer solely a characteristic of Chrisean's. Her surroundings, Junior in particular, are starting to suffer. The supporters are fed up. She is receiving criticism and being told to stop acting like a wayward teenager and to grow up. That's because what was cute at age 20 doesn't work when a child is involved after that. There was the infamous live video from the bathroom where the girl claimed, "My son is able to walk, talk, and eat. How about this? She is either naturally inclined to deceive or is misguided. Anyone who has ever been a parent knew she was bluffing. Even lifting his head is beyond her son's capabilities. There's no way he's walking or talking. She's suddenly everywhere, at the hair salon, at church, etc., with Junior slung to her hip like a hanging ornament. Although it's too handy, it's clear that she's trying to prove she's a full-time mother. Junior was barely noticeable before the criticism. He is now being used as a publicity stunt, and people are paying attention to him. It's considered genuine growth by some. Others say that she is trying to boost her reputation after that CPS scare. Junior seems to be the major attraction on her redemption tour nonetheless. The bottom line, however, is this: a parent's role is not a performance. The purpose is not live streaming or baby cameos. Accountability, consistency, and being there when no one else is around are crucial. Holding a baby while live streaming does not make you a good mother, especially if everything else is going wrong. We must be truthful. Chrisean needs to sit down, give the baby the care he needs, and get herself some emotional, mental, and spiritual assistance, since this isn't about viral content anymore. It's about a kid who didn't ask for this existence. Instead of seeking attention, it's time to start creating stability. Evidently someone who has been around long enough to see the warning signs. Tia Kemp offered insight rather than shade, but instead of learning that information with grace, Rock Chrisean Rock chose to use violence both literally and figuratively. She lashed out, deflected, and humiliated someone who only wanted the best for her and her child in an attempt to make them feel worse. The real lesson is found here. This was no longer about drama on the internet long ago. This isn't fan speculation or unimportant rumors. Here, a child's welfare is at stake. A newborn who was not born into turmoil, who is unable to speak for himself, and who is clearly exhibiting physical, emotional, and possibly medical delays. No attempt has been made to cancel Chrisean. They are trying to hold her accountable, because she is now responsible for someone who relies on her for everything. People aren't noticing effort where it matters despite all the tweets, lives, and conversations. She lacks consistent, regular surroundings, updates on speech or physical therapy, and acknowledged early intervention therapies. Soon, there will be an endless stream of online battles, deflection, and drama. Now stop making accusations against Blueface, blogs, critics, and even fans. In the end, Chrisean is a mother, and influence or sympathy cannot compensate for what is lost. Stable parenting. Tia Kemp said what had to be said. It wasn't hate, it was care. And if Chrisean can't stand someone asking her to look after and protect her son, maybe she needs to look inward and figure out why the truth seems like an attack. Because people's current level of patience is running low. And CPS does not use Instagram stories because it is a public parent. Instead of just responding, the internet is now recoiling. Every time Chrisean Rock has a live performance, posts something offensive, or reappears as a hot artist, it's more like watching an inevitable slow-motion crash than amusement. People are exhausted. It's not that they hate her, not because they are malicious, but because they are sick of seeing a child dragged through the mire of careless parents. Even Blueface's mother, Clarissa, who has gone through her fair share of uncomfortable online situations, finally spoke up. This was not an ambush, she said, standing next to Tia Kemp. It was an appeal for public intervention and common sense. When Tia Kemp brought up Chrisean's son, she wasn't being petty, to be honest. She didn't say anything that Chrisean hadn't already spoken or speak lies. What millions of people have been whispering behind their screens, Tia simply put into words. Chrisean Kudolf responded modestly to the question, where is the concern? Where is the effort? What is the top priority? Although she may have said, I hear you all, she turned it into a fight, an APR disaster, and a one-way ticket to a more thorough investigation. It's almost time for the rumored CPS call. Not over a little argument, not because I'm jealous, online drama, or a bitter former partner. This is not the same, no. This time, the whispers aren't about clout. They are related to anxiety, real concern. The sword that cuts through the din and makes even the most indifferent spectator stop. Because they are currently terrified, fearful that in the middle of all this upheaval, the murder trial, the media circus, and the never-ending speculation about who knew what and when, the one person who should matter most, an innocent child, is being overlooked, impotent, and increasingly invisible, while the adults in their lives fight accusations, pursue fame, and compete for followers, likes, and attention. That's what makes this special. The purported call to Child Protective Services was not made by the usual anonymous trolls and bigots who enjoy stirring up trouble. Fans, bystanders, and perhaps even someone with first-hand knowledge of the incident reported it. And what they witnessed is alarming. There has been a child seen pacing in and out of chaotic scenes, captured in the backstage of live feeds that shouldn't feature kids. They have seen erratic adult conduct, outbursts in public, and suspicious surroundings. They have noticed that this child seems more like a prop than a genuine individual who is used to diffuse criticism, support decisions, or soften opinions. And throughout it all, one question keeps coming up louder and louder. Where's the safety? What separates adult dysfunction from overt endangerment? Before someone says enough, how many warning signs need to be displayed? Because what started out as gossip, entertainment, and drama is no longer fun, it's gloomy. It's reckless. At the heart of it all is a child who made no requests. Drama has become obsolete. It is related to responsibility, duty of care, and the obligation to prioritize the well-being of a child. But that duty has been masked by a mound of brand deals, feuds, court appearances, and orchestrated chaos. The fake parenting, the picture-perfect captions, and the feigned worry all appear meaningless when the cameras are not filming. Furthermore, a very different picture is painted by the reality that exists behind the scenes. The problem is that no one wants to be the one to say it aloud, since calling CPS carries weight. It's serious. The choice cannot be changed. But when genuine concern outweighs the fear of because they don't want to be perceived as untidy or dramatic, they usually decide to make the call secretly and anonymously. Yes, but with hope as well. Hopefully someone will take over at last. What if in the end nobody does? If everyone continues to watch as though it were an endless episode of a reality show? In reality, when will something become irreversible? How long before the damage cannot be undone? This is a disturbing truth that lies behind the rumors. The child is being forgotten, disregarded in favor of power for chaos, in favor of short-term financial gains that momentarily deflect focus from more important problems. Every adult in this situation seems to have a strategy, a platform to defend, a public image to uphold, and a narrative to share. But children don't care about appearances. They value safety, security, love, and being seen as more than a prop in someone else's scheme. This isn't simply a moral failing. The problem is systemic, it's cultural. It's the way we've all come together to find humor in real-life problems. The videos are reposted by us, we giggle at the memes, we observe the drama as it develops. We fail to consider, though, that after the live feed ends, a youngster behind the screen still has to go home, since kids still have to live in the environment that their parents have created. It's time to confront the challenging questions. Who is looking out for this child when the cameras aren't rolling? What do they see and hear and absorb? Is their sense of security being sacrificed for their attention and survival? If everyone is aware of the warning signals, how many more must we see before we stop calling it drama and start calling it a crisis? If the CPS rumors are true, someone finally drew the line. Someone finally had enough, and there's a chance that cry will lead to action before tragedy becomes a headline. Punishment is unrelated to this. It's related to safety. The goal is not to embarrass a parent. Saving a child is the aim. It's simple to overlook people who are most in need. In a busy, boisterous setting, children, however, are born into situations that are out of their control. They can't decide to stay out of the chaos. That is the responsibility of the adults. Furthermore, when adults fail and let their own children's needs be overshadowed by the spotlight of celebrity, someone has to step in. Someone did. We now wait to see what occurs next, and whether this child's future will finally be given priority. The fan's silence, to be honest, speaks for itself. 2022 is not here. The justification that she is only little is inadequate. When a toddler is potentially being disregarded in front of millions of people, and the compassion runs out. This is the outcome of confusing hatred with responsibility. Help is written off as an assault, and a child's experience is filtered through live broadcasts rather than affection. Junior ultimately deserves better parenting, not better PR or comebacks. See, this was never about hate. Parenting isn't always simple, so it was a wake-up call. Drama, likes, or streaming checks are not the purpose. Some people just aren't ready for that kind of responsibility. Regretfully, defending against Christian's actions is getting harder and harder. The system isn't functioning correctly. On video, we've seen her do some crazy things while holding her baby. Additionally, there is still silence, no wellness checks, no accountability, and no intervention. Why? Because she's a woman. Because of the impatience of CPS. At what point do we stop watching this spiral and start acting? Now is the real question. Was Tia Kemp right? Did she follow the required steps? Or was her contact with CPS excessive? Was that protection or excess? Share your opinions in the space provided for comments. I would like to hear various points of view. Was it past due or paid for? Out of pocket? Please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you're having this kind of sincere discourse. Since we're watching everything you do, this conversation is far from over. I assure you, see you all in the next one, please. Let me know if you would like me to create a video hook, introduction, background music, or split this into a multi-part TikTok series or podcast. It's not simply awkward theater. It's accountability wrapped in story.